السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله رب هذه الوداع والصادق وأحمد أسلف الله تخلف الميعاد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه. وقال تعالى في مقام آخر: لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. وقال عليه الصلاة والتسليم: إن الله لا يرضى عن العبد يأكل الأكلة فيحمده عليها ويشرب الشرب فيحمده عليها، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والتسليم: رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear respected brothers, elders, and sisters, I'm pretty sure that there has been in our life moments where we sit in seclusion and we think about the past and you think about the present and you think about the future. As a man who has grown up, who has lived in this country, who has spent time in this country, who once upon a time was a child, then became a teenager, then became an adult, then as an adult was married, and as married you saw your siblings having their own children, you begin to think about your life and say, wow, how far did I come about? Like, where was I once upon a time as a child? And then you look at your life now, like, wow, I have a beard now? I have my own family now? I have my own car now? You think about these things. And what it makes you do is that you become grateful about it. And you say to yourself, wow, Affan, Allah did so much for you. Allah facilitated so many things for you that you didn't even imagine doing in future. But Allah had His own plan. Allah knew that this abd of mine, that this servant of mine will go through different phases of his life, and I know what to do with him. I will take care of this abd. I will show him what he will do in few years down the line. And you think about these things and you say, wow, how great of a planner Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. إِنَّهُ فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. He is the true doer of what he does. And you think about it and you say, then now that I've reached this far, but there's still so many things that I have to do for future. There still has to be some more growth happening for future until I pass away. That is the mentality of every single individual sitting over here. You think about it. Nobody can say, especially the adults who have a family, they think about it all the time. Like, I have kids now. I have their education to take care of. I have to take care of their marriages after. I'm going to have grandchildren now. They're always thinking about different steps they can take to please their life and to take care of their kids' life. But with that growth mindset that we have, there's always a growth mindset we should have when it comes to our deen as well. That where was I when I was a child in my deen? Was my father taking me to the masjid? Okay, my father was taking me to the masjid. Was I praying my salawat when I got a little older? When I was in middle school? Okay, I was praying salawat. When I got into high school, now I'm a teenager, about to become an adult soon. Have I become more serious about my deen, about my religion? You think about these processes the way you think about your life. Now the same adult who has turned 18 now, who's about to start college, and he's thinking about his future plans. That I'm gonna be in this profession, I'm gonna have my own family, my own car, my own house, my own children. So many things are being planned by this one individual who is setting up his goals for his life in this world. Similarly, the growth and the mindset that we make and that we adopt when it comes to living our lifestyle in this world is the lifestyle that is the growth we need when it comes to our religion. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us from his life, a life of 23 years of struggle. A man who every year faced challenges, who was challenged by people, who was challenged by different catastrophes faced in his life. Children, wife, companions, family, tribes, so many different challenges. But he went through those challenges until he was about to pass away. And the Prophet of Allah had given the leadership to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in knew from the beginning that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is the most ahl of this leadership, of this khilafah. For past few days, Rasulullah hasn't been able to come out from his house. He's on the left side of the masjid when you pray facing the Qibla, or pray in Masjid Nabawi. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is in his room, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu one day is leading the prayer, and all the Sahaba are right behind him. Senior companions, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu anhu, Abbas radiallahu anhu, big companions. And right behind the big companions you have the junior companions. They're all praying, all focused on the prayer. Their khushu' and khudu' cannot be compared. They're all the way up here. Our phone rings, we get distracted. When we have our phone, we keep it on silence, but still it's able to divert our attention from our salah. But these companions, didn't matter what it was, they never got distracted from their prayer. A Sahabi with a group of companions were returning back from a battle, and they stopped and they camped. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, who could be amongst you who can watch over us during the night. So two Sahaba, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, they raised their hands and said, Ya Rasulullah, we'll do it. Now all the Muslims are sleeping, these two Sahaba are awake. One Sahabi says to the other Sahabi, man, you know you're going to be awake, we both will be awake, we both will get tired. You know what, we will take turns. I will stay awake for a few hours, and then you will stay awake for a few hours. Then in those few hours that we have, we will be able to sleep and relax. So the other Sahabi says, I'll take the lead, I'll stay awake, you go to sleep. The Sahabi started his supervision over the camps, protecting the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, and that was his main priority. He said to himself, Oh Abdullah, oh the servant of Allah, why should I just watch over them when I can do multitasking? So this Sahabi began praying tahajjud, qiyamul layl. As he is praying, there's an enemy on the ambush, and he targets him and he throws at least 3 to 4 arrows at the Sahabi, but the Sahabi never flinches and never moves from his salah. But when he got 3 to 4 arrows targeted at him, he broke his salah not because of the pain, rather because of the priority he had, and that was to protect the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But khushu and khudu was never diverted away from these arrows. Now imagine these companions are praying right behind Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, and the Prophet of Allah in his room. And there's a curtain. And they're praying and they hear the curtain of the Prophet of Allah move a little bit. It makes a little bit of noise. Now these companions haven't seen the Prophet of Allah for a few days. It is said Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu led about 17 prayers in the presence of Rasulullah while he was absent from the Jama'ah. All those companions began to look from their left eye, peeking and looking at the window of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smile. They see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smile. And the companions became so rejuvenated. They were so enthusiastic. The scholars say the Prophet of Allah smiled during the moment when the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in were praying. What was the reason behind it? What happened? They gave different reasons for it. Some said that the Prophet of Allah could have done something else besides smiling. He could have made dua for them. He could have cried. He could have said something to them. But why did he smile? A scholar says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled, and that was because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so proud of his Sahaba that he worked on them for 23 years and he began to see the fruits of it in his own life. Imagine raising your own kids who have turned 23, 24, and you see them growing up. They're getting married, they have a job, they're financially stable, they're good in their deen. You see them, you become happy. You will become happy when you see your own kids. You will be like, this effort that I made for years over my kids was worth it. I did something for them. I made an effort on them. It's all worth it. Spending on them is all worth it. But it's only when with the condition that you teach them about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what made Rasulullah smile and motivated and proud that he was leaving these companions, his brothers, his friends, his students in this world who will carry out the legacy after he has left this world. And that's what happened. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued to serve without being in this world. Why and how? It's because of his own companions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the epitome of success in his own life. This man did a work which you and I try to do will struggle. I am a teacher. I teach in Islamic school. It's been less than 5 years since I started teaching, but I can tell you this much. It's not easy. Teaching kids, giving them tarbiyah. Even high school kids, not easy. Teaching them is so difficult. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never gave up. For 23 years, it sounds very easy to say for me, but it's not easy. When we talk about growth mindset, when we talk about growing ourselves and building our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet of Allah showed that to his companions. That the entire world can be on one side, but your ta'alluq with Allah can be on the other side. By Allah, the ta'alluq that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will weigh more than whatever is on the other side of the scale. A story comes in my mind of a servant of Muhammad al-Ghaznawi, who was an emperor who was from Afghanistan. He had a slave named Ayaz. You can find the story in Tarikh Da'wah wal-Azima of Shaykh Affan Ahmed rahimahullah. Ayaz was a normal person, was not from a royal family, but wanted to live a simple life. So Muhammad al-Ghaznawi found him outside on the street. He brought him in. He saw his honesty. He saw his loyalty. And he gave him the keys of his treasures. He made him his own treasurer. Being someone's treasurer, it requires. Imagine you have the access to someone's bank account, especially an entrepreneur or a millionaire or billionaire. Imagine that. Muhammad al-Ghaznawi gave him the keys. He said, "Oh Ayaz, you're the one who's entitled to carry and take care of my keys. I don't trust my royal family members." But royal family members never liked this. And they used to complain to Muhammad al-Ghaznawi every single day, "Oh Muhammad," with respect, "Ya Sayyid, what is this? We are from your family. We're part of you. You don't trust us with your own treasuries? What's wrong with that?" And Muhammad al-Ghaznawi says very clearly and very bluntly, he says, "You don't have what Ayaz has." So these royal family members, to make the story short, they said we'll plot things against him so that we can win Muhammad al-Ghaznawi's heart, and so that we can take the keys from Ayaz. The first plot they came up with was the plot that Ayaz used to go to his room, and he used to lock his room, and he had a small lock box, a small treasure. And the one who had the key to that box was only Ayaz, and nobody else had the key to it. And the royal family members knew about it. And they said, this is a way to figure out what Ayaz has in his box. Maybe he's keeping things from the treasures in his box, and nobody knows about it. So they go and complain to Muhammad al-Ghaznawi and say, "Look, the slave you talk about, the treasure you talk about all the time, this person is stealing things and keeping things in his own box, and no one has the key to it." So Muhammad al-Ghaznawi says, "Okay, that's why our deen teaches us, fatabayyanu, before we do anything, before you clarify, before you amplify. Clarify things before you leave a verdict, before you say something, before you come to a conclusion. You clarify things." He said, "Okay, if this is the case, let me bring him and let him make his point clear." He says, "Oh yeah, Ayaz." He says, "Yes, Naam ya Sayyidi. What are they saying about you? That you have a box in your room and nobody has the access to it? Is that true?" He says, "Naam. Yes, that's true." He said, "What do you keep in that box?" Ayaz in the beginning felt a little embarrassed, and he looked down, And he looked up. He said, do you really want to know, Ya Sayyid? He says, yes, I want to know. Ayaz says, oh Sayyid, oh my master, the day I was brought into this palace, I remember wearing patched clothes outside of this palace. And when you gave me new clothes, I kept those patched clothes in that box ever since I came into this palace. So that every day I can wake up and go to my box and look at it and remind myself, oh Ayaz, once upon a time you were like this, and Allah gave you this through the means of His abd. How are you going to be dishonest with Him? How are you going to be disloyal with Him? I remind myself every single day what favors Allah showed to me through you. And that's what keeps me motivated every single day to keep the key in my hands and to be the treasure of yours. And royal family members were quiet. They were dumbfounded. But they never gave up. They said, we'll plot something else against him. They said, we'll say that Ayaz is making stuff up and he says things behind the back of Muhammad al-Ghaznawi. This is a true story. They go to Muhammad al-Ghaznawi and says, this is what it is. He's talking bad about you behind your back. What are you going to say about that? Muhammad al-Ghaznawi says, okay, if that's the case, bring him again. Ayaz comes and he stands in front of Muhammad al-Ghaznawi. And the royal family members are on one side and Ayaz on the other side. And Muhammad al-Ghaznawi says to his other servants, go bring me the most precious item that we have. And the other servant goes and brings that. And he asks for a hammer. Everybody is watching this scene. Ayaz on one side, and you have the royal family members on the other side. And you have Muhammad al-Ghaznawi. He commands the royal family members to show them, he gives them more rights, that they're more deserving of it. He says to every single one of them, come forward, grab the hammer, and break this precious gem in front of my face. Nobody dared to walk forward and break this precious gem. They said, oh Muhammad al-Ghaznawi, are you okay? How are you going to break this precious gem which is so hard to get? How are you going to do that? So nobody stepped forward. Now it was the turn of Ayaz. And listen to this very carefully, and this is the conclusion. Ayaz is told, go ahead, come forward and grab the hammer and break this precious gem. He comes forward, grabs the hammer, thinks for a few times, but eventually breaks the gem. All the royal family members' jaws they're dumbfounded. It's open. They're like, what just happened? He just broke a gem, a precious gem. Was he okay in his head? And Muhammad al-Ghaznawi himself is a bit shocked. And then he looks at Ayaz and says, Ayaz, what happened? And Ayaz is a bit sad and a bit nervous. He says to Muhammad al-Ghaznawi, he says, Ya Sayyid, when you told me to break this precious gem, listen to these words. He says, when you told me to break this beautiful and this precious gem, I had two options in my head. And I had only a few minutes to make the choice, I had only a few minutes. Either to obey your command or to break your command or to break this precious gem. And I preferred your command over this precious gem because you are the emperor, you are the king. You will get the precious gems whenever you want, but I cannot win over your heart again in front of your royal family members. So I took that option and I did it. Imagine how happy Muhammad al-Ghaznawi was in front of his royal family members to prove them that Ayaz was far better than them when it came to honesty, when it came to loyalty, when it came to trusting somebody. This was Ayaz who won the heart of his master Muhammad al-Ghaznawi. Now take it from your own lens and apply it in your own life as an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah tells us to do something and you have the option to do it and not to do it, what will you prefer? Will you prefer to grow in your religion by pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or will you grow in displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is what you call the growth mindset when it comes to the deen. And this was the lifestyle the Prophet of Allah lived with, and he taught his companions about for 23 years. Therefore, when any task was presented in front of them by Rasulullah, they said, Fidaka ummi wa abi ya Rasulullah. May my father and my parents be sacrificed for you. You mean a lot more than anybody else. This was taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the back of his head was what? Was a person who never cared about his own self. He cared about his ummah. Ummah, ummah. He loved his ummah more than anything else. On the day when we will be looking for water, when we will be looking for intercession, shafa'ah, wallahi, nobody's going to help you besides your Habib, my Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Your Habib will be there, standing there looking for you, begging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, putting his head down the ground, making sajda, asking Allah, these are my ummati, please. And Allah will say, wajaba shafa'ati alayhim. My shafa'ah has been made obligatory upon them. They have been saved from the hellfire. Now how do you want to show your face? How do I want to show my face to my Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Do we want to be stagnant in our deen and be a person of growth in our dunya? You ask yourself this question. This question is up to you to decide. All I will say is, our Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam left a legacy that nobody can ever emulate, because he was the Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the suhbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the mentioning of his name and the mentioning of his Habib sallallahu alayhi wasallam's name, that he removes all the difficulties of our brothers and sisters in Palestine, that he removes all the difficulties of our brothers and sisters in India, that he removes all the difficulties of brothers and sisters in Bangladesh, that he removes all the difficulties of brothers and sisters in Sudan and in different parts of the world where Muslims are going through struggles. وهذا وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد بعدد من صلى وصام، وصل على سيدنا محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر أهل فلسطين، اللهم انصرهم نصرا مؤزرا. اللهم عليك بأعدائهم أعداء الدين، واجعلنا منهم ومعهم. اللهم اخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ولا تجعلنا منهم ولا معهم. اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام، اللهم ثبتنا وأطفالنا على الإسلام. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالإيمان، بالإيمان والقرآن. اللهم نور قلوبنا بالإيمان والقرآن. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقيموا صفوفكم إن شاء الله. Please fill the gaps, inshallah. Leave no rows, inshallah. And let's try to make space for brothers who are outside, inshallah, and sisters.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. Please join the lines, leave no gaps, and please keep your cell phones on silence. استووا واعتدلوا وسدوا الخلل. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان سمع الله لمن حمده لك الحمد. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. استغفر الله العظيم استغفر الله العظيم. اللهم انت السلام لك السلام تبارك يا ذا اللهم اعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادك. الله لا اله الا انت.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, Jazakumullah khair. Few announcements, inshallah. First, let me start by saying Jazakumullah khair for Shaikh Affan Ahmed for this beautiful reminder. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you, Rabbil Alameen. And we have many programs for tonight, inshallah. Tonight we have the boys halaqa at 6:15, inshallah. Sisters halaqa at 7 p.m. Also, we have the digital dangers tonight after Maghrib. Refreshment will be served and babysitting will be provided ages 3 to 12. The ISNA conference is coming at the August 30th. Do your best, inshallah, to attend in Dallas. The AMJA conference is coming next month, inshallah, on September 27th, inshallah. Do your best to attend. We have many requests for dua. The mother-in-law of Brother Muhammad Awad got diagnosed with cancer and she had a surgery. Please keep her in your sincere dua. Also, we have a brother who just got admitted to Houston Methodist. Again, please keep both of them, inshallah, and the whole Muslims in your sincere dua. Jazakumullah khair. Don't forget to pray for the peoples in the Masjid al-Aqsa and people of Gaza and the people of Sudan, all the people around the world. Jazakumullah khair.